Hello everyone. Is a united Europe still a genuine answer to the challenges faced by continental nations? Where does Europe end, geographically, politically and spiritually? And what does it truly mean to be a good European? My guest today believed that the only path for his country is a European path, which he once described as a road of the apostle of freedom. Bulgaria joined the European Union back in 2007. He himself served as President of Bulgaria from 2012 to 2017 during a period of domestic difficulty and continental transformation. Today I'm very pleased to welcome the fourth President of Bulgaria, Rosen Plevneliev, to AnewZ Exclusive. Thank you very much for joining us, Mr. President.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Mr. President, back in 2017, during your final address to the nation before leaving office, you described your presidency, those 5 years cumulatively, as indisputably very hard, but also worthy of respect and successful. Could you just reflect retrospectively on that assessment? What, in your view, defined the success of your term?
Well, the legacy of my presidency, today you could see, do you know that you're calling me in a very special moment of Bulgarian history? I can share with our friends in Azerbaijan right today, right now, the European Council, the European Parliament, the European Commission agreed for Bulgaria to be a full-fledged member of the Eurozone, to be the 21st country getting into the very heart of the European project, the joint currency, the euro. I am so proud because this is part of my legacy. I was pushing my country into more integration into Europe, in defense, in security, in economy, also monetary policy. My presidency of someone who was European and believed in our European values of freedom, democracy, human rights. And I'm very proud today when I stand in front of you to say my vision, Bulgaria to be a member of the Eurozone, is happening right now, right today, which is a great news for all of us. But also in my presidency, we did a lot in the Bulgarian economy, reshaping new partnership, new markets. We rechanged and totally reconsidered our exports, the way consumption works. And today I have to say, Bulgaria has one of the fastest income growing country, one of the fastest GDPs. Bulgaria is modernizing, and that's also part of my legacy. So I'm proud to look at the people and say, I delivered something for all.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. So thank you very much for reflecting on your legacy retrospectively. And my second question to you about the notion of being European. What does it take to be a good European? Bulgaria, of course, is a European country by geography, by history, by virtue of its membership in the European Union, by virtue of its associations in different European institutions and European zones. German philosophers used to say that being a good European is effectively to embody the best version of oneself. So being a good European means that we are actually accumulating what is good about us. It's becoming the enhanced version of our own national sort of identity. Does this notion, in your view, resonate with Bulgaria's experience?
Exactly true. You see now, as we look at what's going on with the United States, for example, where President Trump is shifting away the nation for what we believe is European way of thinking, European values. Now we need to come back even more to who we are. What we believe in is right for us. And I believe that the European values, our European identity, are very strong. Those are the values of peace, the values of good neighborly relationships, the values of democracy, of freedom, of human rights and dignity for all, and market economy. That is why I believe in those values, and I am really very much hoping, and I'm a positive, that these European values, now the time has come for Europe to defend them, to stand for what we believe is right for Europe. A wonderful continent, the best place to live, but also the time has come for us to defend who we are and how do we see the future of our children.
Very interestingly, Bulgaria joined the European Union back in 2007, and Croatia joined, I think, in 2013. Britain left, well, not in 2016, but the decision was made in 2016, and I think the exit took place in 2020. Do you think Europe has, as an idea, as a union, reached its sort of true geographical limits, or is there still a case to be made for further expansion, geographically, territorially, I mean?
Yeah, on one side we have the European Union, but on the other side we have Europe as a whole. And I have to say the European Union will enlarge, but also the European Union, in order to be the heart of Europe and strengthen Europe as a unique project for our universe, it needs to find its new dimensions and new partnerships and cooperations. For example, with the UK, which is probably the most important now strategic relationship is between the European Union and the UK, but also with countries like Turkey, which is the regional power, and far beyond. Of course, the vision for the European Union itself will be to integrate countries from the Western Balkans. Some of them are moving and doing the reforms. Integrate also countries like Moldova, and of course Ukraine is extremely important. Some countries like Turkey, I believe also UK, they took a decision to stay out. Switzerland, Norway, but such countries are extremely important to focus on the European as a whole. Peace, marketing, human rights, good neighborly relationships, and most of all, respect for all, and fair competition and fair trade for all. That's, I believe, that the European Union is under pressure to deliver and to make the difference. When you see countries like United States shifting, drifting away, China having their own understanding of how should they organize their own country, which is a great power, is a wonderful country, but different in their mentality of what the Europeans are. So we should think about how to strengthen Europe as a global power.
And what is the greatest challenge presently facing the idea of European unity? You were once, about 13 years ago, openly critical of Prime Minister David Cameron's policies regarding immigration during those years, during the early 2010s. And in light of today's challenges, how great a problem is immigration for the European Union, both internal, so mobility, and also external factor?
All politicians all over the world know that migration is extremely important for ordinary citizens. Most of them fear migration, they fear they can lose their jobs. That is why politics needs to address that. But most of the politicians today address migration in a more populistic than rational way. And I think that was my disagreement with David Cameron, who was a wonderful guy, very talented, Prime Minister of the UK, and a very good friend of mine. He came to me back then and he said, Rosen, I'm going to do a referendum, but I'm going to defend the stay, so for the UK to stay within the European Union. And I said, David, I think you're doing a very big mistake. The referendum is the nuclear power of democracy. You better be very careful how they use it. And secondly, David, you need to understand that the politician can make a mistake, but should not make a strategic, historic mistake. And for the UK to get out of the European Union will be a strategic and historic mistake. Unfortunately, you see, I was right. and now we see the problems. But anyhow, UK and EU, this has to be now, after the divorce, the perfect friendship. The one and only in the world, because without UK, there is no issue for Europe addressing the Russian threat, security, and also migration. So on migration, last but not least, there is no country alone that can solve the issue. That is why I was preparing the European Union and I was pleading for all European solution. And by the way, if you look at the latest numbers today, it's under control. Migration in Europe is finally under control. We see that, we deliver on that. And of course, we have to make a very clear point. One is people who are fleeing out of wars thinking about their lives, we need to take them. But totally the other is hundreds of millions of people that would like to come to Europe looking for jobs. And here, the European authorities and each and every European Union member state country has to have a clear policy about that. I believe we are there now. The results are much better. But 2015, we saw a huge chaos. The one was the migration chaos in Europe. The other one was, as a result of this, the very tragic Brexit event. Now, I think we're understanding, we're getting better.
I would like to move into the subject. We're slowly coming to Azerbaijani-Bulgarian bilateral relations, but before coming to the point about bilateral relations between Azerbaijan and Bulgaria, I want to ask about Turkey. There is a school of thought which seems to be quite entrenched in some European capitals that but countries like Bulgaria, countries like Romania, they could become a member of the European Union. They wouldn't cause any massive structural problems because they're geographically, relatively speaking, small. They would be able to integrate properly. They wouldn't sort of challenge this Franco-German domination which seems to prevail within the European Union after the exit of the UK. But countries like Turkey, even if they satisfy certain requirements, would militate against the very soul of the European unity. What do you make of that argument?
Unfortunately, we can point today at least 10 European Union member state countries that would share that vision about Turkey, which is not my vision and the people of Bulgaria. Countries like Hungary, Slovakia, Austria, probably some others, they would heavily oppose further integration of Turkey into the European Union. I think the opposite. I think that the European project is not finished without such a wonderful nation, regional power, and a great country like Turkey. Bulgaria is a very proud neighbor of Turkey, and I always made sure that Bulgaria and Turkey have a wonderful relationship. Today, for example, the busiest cross-border point for land in the world is between Bulgaria and Turkey. And we are great neighbors. We do a lot of trade. There is a lot of respect. But listen, I will make a proposition here. I will say that the Turkish economy is changing. It is integrating more and more with the European one. The new people living in Turkey, they're very open-minded, and in maximum one generation time, the right moment will come to address all the fears, even of such countries like Austria, Hungary, and others. And I am a great optimist. I will make the prediction, probably not now, but in 15, 20 years, Turkey will be a member of the European Union. The project is not finished without Turkey, definitely. And if we would like to see global power, European Union as a global power, we can achieve that only with Turkey. We should work on that.
And how would you characterize the evolution of Azerbaijan-Bulgaria relations since your tenure in office? I mean, you were president from 2012 to 2017. That was a moment of massive, gargantuan energy projects. Some of the essentials related to Azerbaijan's role in terms of helping Europe's energy security were being laid down back then. How have the relations evolved since your time?
Well, day one of my presidency, you will be interested to know, but the former Bulgarian president before me, President Parvanov, I inherited from him 3 giant Russian projects. A nuclear power station, Russian, a pipeline from Russia to Bulgaria, and an oil pipeline from Russia to Bulgaria. And I stopped all of that. And I was very proud to start working into moving from 3 Russian energy projects, Bulgarian energy, to 3 strategic priorities that make sense. The one was energy diversification, the other one was energy liberalization, And the third one was energy efficiency. During my presidency, we started a huge energy efficiency program in my country that impacted millions of Bulgarians' homes. We made energy liberalization possible. No monopolies, but we open to buy from all over the world. And third, we did the energy diversification. I was very proud to be the Bulgarian president who announced and signed the strategic partnership between Bulgaria and Azerbaijan, together with President Aliyev. That was a great moment. I was very proud to put my signature on the first pipe from the Southern Gas Corridor. I flew to Baku together with the Prime Minister of Greece, of Albania, and some other countries. And I was very proud. To me, it was a historic moment, breaking the 100% Bulgarian dependence on Russian gas and working for a free, open Bulgarian energy. I was also very proud to visit the Global Baku Forum each and every year. I was very proud to find so many friends in Azerbaijan and support a lot of other additional projects. And look where we are today. Azerbaijan is the biggest partner for gas deliveries for Bulgaria. We are preparing new big investments. We signed for Green Corridor. And we also signed for the Middle Silk Way, where from Azerbaijan through Turkey and Bulgaria, we're increasing dramatically the number of goods and trade from China to Europe. So together we are strong, we are better, and I want to thank people of Azerbaijan, the government of Azerbaijan, for a great friendship and cooperation.
You reflected on two key moments. You reflected on Azerbaijan's role in terms of energy security for Bulgaria and Southeastern Europe in general, I think. And there was one another element related to Russia and the importance of not being too dependent on Russia. It is often said that Azerbaijan alone cannot secure Europe's energy future, but its role in Southeastern Europe is of supreme consequence. What should be done, do you think, at this stage, after all of those years, that all of those achievements have been attained, to further enhance this wider partnership, not just with Bulgaria, but with a wider region? We're talking about Southeastern Europe at large.
Absolutely. We should never forget that, if you remember, after the brutal Russian invasion in Ukraine in 2022, and some first countermeasure of the European Union, Gazprom has been sending letters to countries like Finland, Poland, also Bulgaria, by basically blackmailing us and saying, if you don't pay in rubles right now for the gas deliveries, we're going to stop right now your gas deliveries. So I was very proud that my country showed character and said, listen, we should read to the contract. So we have a contract and we should stick to the contract. But the Russians are not interested of what they sign and even what they promise. And they blackmailed my country and they stopped within the middle of the night on one certain day the whole gas deliveries to my country. And guess what happened? Nothing. The reason is because Bulgaria, as part of my legacy, diversified its gas connections, the deliveries of gas. For Bulgaria, Azerbaijan was indispensable, the most important country that saved us, that helped us in a very difficult moment of history, and we should never forget that. Now, very close Russian allies and landlocked countries like Slovakia, also Slovenia, even Austria and Hungary are waking up to the danger that the same could happen to them, and they're willing to diversify. And here, Azerbaijan is playing an indispensable role. For example, now we are building in an emergency regime a gas interconnector with Serbia, Bulgaria, Serbia, so that actually Serbia would like to be more secure and more safe if the Russian deliveries will not be able to be realized anymore. So again, those priorities, which I put in the very heart of my mandate as a president, energy liberalization, gas should not be a weapon to blackmail other countries. Gas should be a good to be traded in a fair and honest long-term contracts. This is exactly what Azerbaijan does, and we're very grateful to that. So we look at the future now being more safe because Bulgaria connected. Bulgaria has a wonderful relationship with Azerbaijan, with Turkey, with Greece, and now we're helping other countries with Azerbaijan, like Republic of North Macedonia, Albania, even Croatia. They would like to link further, and I believe this is the right thing to do.
And my last question to you, Mr. President, about the latest tensions between Baku and Moscow, which have escalated with a particular degree of palpable violence and intensity since the latest raid that took place in Yekaterinburg. But of course, the roots of the problem go back to the 25th of December last year. There's a downing of the Azar plane. What is your reading of the situation? How does it look like to you from where you are?
There is a wisdom going back to Napoleon's time. Napoleon was conquering and attacking, and at the end, his last sentence was, he said, if you don't have a cause, you need a war. What is the cause, ask yourself, of a wise leader? To make his people more prosperous, more educated, to modernize the country, to make people have a perspective, be proud of their country. And this happens in my country, this happens in Azerbaijan, this happens in Turkey, this happens, people see perspective, they love their countries, but it doesn't happen in Russia's. And especially in today's Russia of Putin, who is a dictator, who is not making the Russians more prosperous or more free, more educated. He's installing basically a military dictatorship in Russia. And that is why he needs a war. He needs a conflict in order to defend his own regime in Moscow. This could happen only if there is constant tensions. Now the war is in Ukraine, but there could be Moldova. Could be that Putin will question the NATO unity, for example, trying to organize a land corridor to Kaliningrad, passing through the territory of Nordic countries, Baltic countries. Definitely what we see Putin as a leader who is destroying the world order, who is eliminating the European order for peace, who does not respect human rights and dignity, who does not believe in good neighborly relationships, who didn't understood the very simple lesson that the strongest leader is not the one that is attacking the weakest. The strongest leader is the one who helps the weaker. That's the only way you can have peace. But it's not going on with Putin. Putin will continue in order to strengthen its own regime, its own dictatorship in Russia. He will continue looking for tensions, and he might find those tensions also, unfortunately, with Azerbaijan. But I have to say, Azerbaijan is a very strong country, very strong nation, strategic partnership with Turkey, United States, Israel, European Union. Azerbaijan is extremely strong, extremely important, and we're going to stay and stick with Azerbaijan to deliver on our European values for peace and good neighborly relationships.
Thank you very much indeed, Mr. President. Thank you very much indeed for your time and for your answers.
Thank you. All the best. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, that was President Rosen Plevneliev. We discussed a number of issues, from wider European matters related to European unity to bilateral relations between Azerbaijan and Bulgaria, and the Russian factor, of course. Well, in times of doubt, clarity of purpose becomes a virtue. There is life beyond Europe, but the true expanse of Europe must still be understood properly, as must the nature of the continent's relations with those countries that are neither wholly European nor wholly non-European. You have been watching AnewZ Exclusive, and see you very soon indeed.